Hey everyone, this is Five Eyes. This one's going to be on gathering, and the guy in the picture here is probably the best gatherer in the server by quite a distance, Prismolit. So I'm going to basically give you an idea on how to be as good as him, although in reality that's going to be difficult because he's involved a lot of work, particularly with subs. But effectively with gathering, you've got two main buffs which affect it. So you've got the gathering speed and you've got extra resources from gathering. Depending on how you play, usually the extra resources one is going to be much more important. The gathering speed means that you can get back your gatherers quicker after they've finished a tile, but the extra resources just means whatever tiles you do, you are going to get additional resources. And unless you're watching your troops all the time and you're on all the time during the day, then it's going to be better to have the extra resources as such. That's where you get the better buffs anyway, and the more resources back from your gathering. So to start with, I'm going to go through all the sort of easy wins, the easy ways to get increases in speed and extra RSS. But we'll go into the generals, which is probably the main source of your buffs a bit later on. So just to start with, in the academy, in your research, the key one that you want to have fully developed is the advancement, the first tree, which you hopefully will have anyway. And then it's these ones, the foraging ones. So you're going to get 70% gathering speed just by doing those. So that's your main, probably your main research you're going to do for gathering. There's gathering march speed, which isn't really that important. And then you've also got super version of it as well, which gives you another 100% in terms of gathering speed. So quite a lot of gathering speed you can get just from completing this first tree. I think that's pretty much it in terms of research, but there is the alliance research as well, which will give you, if you're using the alliance farms, then you get gathering speed for those as well. I don't really use it too often, so I haven't really done much research on this, but I don't even know what the percentage will be, but I'm guessing it'll be about 50 to 70%, something like that. Probably similar to the first research in the advancement tree. So that's a key one, really, in terms of gathering speed to start with. You've then got your Monarch talent. So if you look down here, we've got at level 26, you can get the gathering boost. So once you get to level, I think 29, you'll have completed that. Once you've completed all 4 levels, so that will give you an extra 20% extra resources from gathering. So that's quite a big one actually. So that's an important one to get as well. Make sure, obviously you may change this depending on whether you're doing PvP. So my PvP I don't use it, but during normal nap time, then I will change it to this one, and that will give me all the ones I want for gathering. The other useful one is resources critical. So when you do actually open your resources, resource boxes, then it gives you a chance, 10% chance of getting a ×2 for opening them. So you'll get double the amount. Then you've got in your Monarch gear, in this bottom one here, so you've got all the ones along the bottom, the 4 along the bottom are for food, lumber and stone and ore gathering speed. So I've got an extra 50% for each of those. So these ones don't need to be on all the time. So if you're sending a march out, you only actually need to have it on just before you enter the resource tile. As soon as you've entered and it says gathering, then you can take it off and put it onto a different one. If you were, let's say you were going into another, you're in a lumber tile, then you were going to change to ore, so you can just change it after that one's arrived and gathering. You can change it to this one and send a march to that one, and then you can put it back to production while they're already showing as gathering. So that's an easy way to maximize what you're actually getting. Now the biggest way, and this is what Prism Wallet will be doing, is your subs. So I've only got one Korean sub, but it's the Korean subs that you need to give you the extra RSS. So if let me go into the preview. So if we look at Korea, you can see it's got this one here, which gives, for a gold sub, gives an extra resources percentage of 15%. So if you think you've got 7 or 8 subs, that's a massive extra buff that you're getting. And I think at the moment I only get about somewhere between 40 and 50% extra resources. So if you're just getting, if you've got a whole list of gold subs, 7 or 8 of them, then you're getting nearly 100% extra just from those alone. So it's a massive increase. All I'm getting at the moment is 9% just for my one career. So pretty minimal for me, but for somebody like Prism Wallet, that's where he's getting most of his RSS bonus from compared to everybody else. So that is a really big one. So make sure if you're doing gathering, then you can change your culture to Korea, and that's where you'll get make a big difference if you have those Korean subs as well. But obviously, once you change it to Korea, you're going to get your main sub as well, would be Korea. So you're getting, depending what level that's at, you're getting another 9, or for me it'd be 12% because it's a purple sub. So that's what you'd be get the benefit of changing to Korea during nap time. You've then got, what else we got? So we got Art Treasure is another good one. So this will depend on whether you've completed the exhibition hall. So I can't remember which ones it is, but once you've completed the ones you need for, I think it's the Mona Lisa, this one. Yep, so that will give you, again, depending on where you are with scrolls, so I'm at level 2 now. In terms of the scrolls, I'm not far off level 3, but it gives me extra resource speed of 12% and extra resources gathering of 12%. So pretty good buffs, and actually it doesn't go up too much for level 3, but yeah, that's where you get fairly decent buffs actually from the Art Treasure scroll, the Art Treasure Mona Lisa one. Then you've got Civ Treasure. So depending on where you are with it, it's this one, so the Fabergé egg, and that gives you additional gathering speed once it's activated. So if it's not activated, you won't be getting anything from it. But if you click on use, then that gathering speed buff of 4% will now take effect for me. Obviously, if this is just level, I think this is level 1, this Fabergé egg. So once it gets to level 2, which I'm not too far off, yeah, I'm pretty close. So that'll go to 10% when I get to the next level for that one. And the other thing you get as well, which is really useful, each day you'll get one of these when you gather in a level 5 or above RSS spot. So you'll get a pansy egg, which I can show you now. So it's one of these. So it gives a reasonable amount of RSS. This one, okay, 5 million food. And that time, 5 of 2 RSS types. So it's actually, yeah, a decent amount. If you're only doing one a day, for example, it's worth it because you're pretty much doubling what you've already just gathered from that one tile through the pansy egg. So that's pretty useful as well. And then the other thing we have is in speed ups. If you go into items, you've got these two options here. So you've got 8-hour resource gathering speed up, or you've got a 24 version as well. Both of them increase your speed by 50%. But if you've got, like I have quite a lot of them, then you can use those as well to increase the speed when you're doing a lot of, maybe on your gathering day or something like that, is the best time to use those. But to be honest, I could probably use them all the time and I wouldn't run out. So yeah, they're quite easy to get from the, I think it's the Wheel of Fortune is quite an easy one to get them from, so you can get them from there. Okay, so on to the main bit, which is which generals to use. So most people I think will know that Queen Jindeok is the best gathering general by quite some distance. So you can see she will bring back an extra 40% of resources from any world map resource spots, and also an extra 20% from the Alliance resource spots as well. So she's the only one that will give you an actual benefit of bringing back extra resources from your Alliance spot. I think Constance is the other one, but she doesn't bring back anything from the Alliance spot. She only brings it back from world map spots. Okay, and I'll show you Constance as well. I think she's in Europe. Yeah, so she will give you 20%. She has troop load additional as well, but the troop load, well, I don't know. I don't really use the troop load as such. It's not really a big issue for me. So unless you've not got many troops, then the troop load doesn't really have any meaning for this. But yeah, she brings back. She's effectively half as good as Jindeok, so she's a decent option, and she's cheap and easy to get from the tavern. And I think you can get her in relics as well. But she's an easy one to get. So if you can't get a Jindeok from the tavern, then she is quite an easy option to use, and she's your next best option, really. Now, when you are gathering, you want to get your main general, which will either be Jindeok or Constance, up to a level where you can have an assistant, because you can then use a few different people to improve your gathering speed. So in the main, Princess Lucy she works for everything. So she'll work on any types of tiles. She's just got a 15% increase in speed, and she's your sort of best one to use, really, unless you're doing a specific resource type. So Gaius is actually pretty good here. He's good for ore. He'll give you 30% increase in speed for that. He'll also give you 15% for lumber and stone. So he's pretty good for most of them. So you could use him, but you could use Princess Lucy. If you're doing a lot of ore tiles, then he's probably the one to use. But I don't have any of them, so I just use Princess Lucy, unless I am doing gathering for food. So by far the best one for food is Shimazu. So he will bring back, on top of Jindeok's 40%, he will bring back an extra 30% as well from farms. So, and he's also increased his gathering speed by 10%. So he's great for gathering food. Now I don't, because pretty much all the buildings I need to build now have got need far more food than I can actually save because of the troop upkeep and the requirement for let's see here. Yeah, the food protected from troop upkeep for me is about 300 million. So once I go over that, I'm just losing it. So there's no point really me trying to save food in here. So I don't really do any gathering of food in this keep. I use my farm for that entirely, and the best the best way I've found of doing that is by having T1 siege only, because then you can see here in troop details, my total upkeep is 15.6 million per hour. So once I go over that 300 million that's protected, I'm losing 16 million an hour of food. So there's just I can't keep up with that if I was gathering all the time. So it would be pointless to try and gather in this keep. So when I've got T1 Siege, I think it's less than 100k per hour. So I'm producing more than that, more food than that an hour. So I'm never really losing anything by gathering food in my other keep. So that's the way I do it. So I've got 5 Shimazus in my other keep, and I just send him out with, I don't have any Jindioks on that, so it's just Constants and Shimazu that I use for all gathering on that keep for food. But on this one I have Princess Lucy, if I can find her somewhere down here. Yep. So she just flat out increases speed by 50%, and that's it. So she's really good as an assistant general with Jindiok or Constance. So the other thing is equipment, which is a big one. So there are different ways of doing this, and it all depends on how many resources you've got and what you want to invest in it. But for me, I think the most cost-effective way of doing it is by having the champion's armor on everything except the weapon and ring. The reason being that will give you a set bonuses of gathering speed if you've only got 2 of them, and for all 4 you get extra resources of 10%. So pretty good for what you're actually using, because the materials you need to use for this are pretty minimal. You don't need to, well, you can put stars on it, which will increase this lumber gathering speed percentage. So they've all got a different type of material. So this one's got ore, this one has food, and this one will have stone. So that will increase to 7.5%. I don't think it's really worth spending the gold to increase the stars to get that, so I haven't bothered, but you could. And then the only reason I've got the Transcendence bow and Transcendence ring is that they have got a set bonus of 8% gathering speed on top. So it's a really cheap way of getting some decent extra buffs. Now, there are some improvements you can make to that, but I just don't think they are worth it. So if you go to, let's see if I can remember. So yeah, if you get the courageous versions of these, so if you get, rather than the champion's gear, you get the king's gear, you get a better gathering speed bonus, but you don't get the extra resources buff that you got as part of the set buff for the champion's gear. So I'm not actually sure whether it's actually better or not. It might be slightly if you are really on top of your gathering and as soon as the march comes back, you're sticking it back out again. But I think for most people that's unrealistic. So I don't really think it's worth the investment, and it needs a lot more materials to do this one. So yeah, I haven't bothered. There are a couple that you could do. So if you saw on my Jindiok before, the weapon and the ring together gave an 8% speed boost. If you use just a weapon and forget about the ring, you could use the King's Axe, which will give you 40%, and that's before you star it up, so I'm not sure, it might be much higher than that. But that gives you at least 40% extra buff for speed, and the sword will give you stone speed boost of 40% as well. The spear gives you only 15%, so for some reason the axe and the sword give you much better buffs than the spear and the bow, which only give 15% for each compared to 40. So I wouldn't really bother with those. I don't think those are worth it at all. But yeah, you might decide if you have loads of spare materials, then you might want to go for the King's Sword and the King's axe. So that's one extra thing you can do. The other thing is, just going back to Jindiok, so like I said, I don't do any food gathering on this account, but so the obvious skill books to use are the lumber, stone and ore. So that'll give you 45% increase for each one as well. So those are what I use usually, but on the other account I've got food as the skill book instead, because that's what I mainly use that one for. So in terms of extra things you can do, but they aren't worth it in my opinion, you could ascend Jindiok if you've got enough. I probably could buy, I had a chance to buy some extras in the tavern yesterday, 2 came up, and I'd get an extra 15% gathering speed. I just don't think it's worth the Blood of Ares, because I'm much more, you're going to get much more value for them by using them on either your main generals, PvP generals, or your duty officers or your sub gens. So yeah, I'm not going to bother with that, but you could if you were going really extreme on it. And also you could complete some of these specialities. So if we look at what she can do, so I don't think that one's nothing. The second one gives you extra gathering speed of 10% in total, and the final one gives you, this one does give you extra resources from gathering. I'm not sure what's the total, 12, 16, so 20%. So you could get an extra 20% that way, but runestones, particularly the 4th runestone, are incredibly rare. So again, I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. It's just not it's not worth the benefit that you're getting from it. So those are the additional things. Again, if you really wanted to go crazy, you could refine these, the gear that you put on here, and refine it to have gathering speed. That probably could give you quite a big boost if you've got the right. Yeah, I'm not sure what can you refine with. I'm not sure what you can get up to with Champions gear, but anyway, you might be able to get some decent buffs that way. But again, refined stones are rare. I wouldn't bother doing it with this at all, but it's just something you could do if you were really desperate just to get the highest gathering speed you can get. So that's pretty much it, I think. I don't think there's anything else, but if I've forgotten anything, then let me know in the comments. And yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit in terms of getting your gathering speed gathering up. Okay, thanks. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye.